Sometimes I think the people who are screaming about climate change, disaster, are talking less science than religion. It's like there's a global warming church, and the dogma, climate change is this huge problem, and we must cap carbon and tax carbon and change everyone's lifestyle and sign Kyoto, and if we do, we'll save the world. Stephen Dubner, co-author of Super Freakonomics, says there might be another way. What's that?
Well, there are a portfolio of ideas that scientists and others, economists, others around the world are looking at. And they're generally called geoengineering. Now, geoengineering might not be the best word because it scares the living daylights out of a lot of people. It sounds like you're engineering the Earth, which is exactly what it is. If you think about it, though, we've already geoengineered the Earth by burning up about 300 million years' worth of fossil fuel in a couple hundred years. If that's the problem, what's the solution? So we take a look at it and say, well, if we've caused this problem ourselves, and it could be a big problem. In other words, if global warming is a really big problem to worry about, and the warming is the issue that we're concerned with here, put aside for a moment things like ocean acidification and so on. How do you stop the warming? How do you cool the Earth if you need to? Geoengineering has a few ideas. Among them are some that any environmentalist could love, making the oceanic clouds more reflective, which would bounce more sunlight back into the atmosphere and cool the surface. The one that we write about at some length in Super Freakonomics that has some people very, very distraught sounds repugnant. And we write about the idea that some ideas in society are repugnant for a long time until they're not. So this is one we don't know.
Tell the idea, and then we'll discuss how repugnant it is.
This idea, the repugnant part means you're putting chemicals into the stratosphere on purpose, sulfur dioxide, right? And what this actually does is tries to mimic the effect of nature, a volcano. When a big, big volcano blows up, which fortunately doesn't happen that often. If it did, we wouldn't have, the weather that we have, wouldn't have the geography we have, and so on. Once in a while,
it would be cooler because of the stack.
In history, there's been a year without summer, which was a year, a couple hundred years ago when there was a big volcano. In 1991, however, there was a volcano in the Philippines, Mount Pinatubo. The sulfuric ash that went into the stratosphere actually ended up cooling the Earth for about 2 years, creates a kind of haze. So the idea of geoengineering is to literally take a kind of specialized garden hose, run it up into the sky 15, 18 miles, spritz out sulfur dioxide, a relatively very small amount, to recreate that volcanic eruption and thereby cool the Earth if you need it. It's like when you build a new house. You want to do everything you can not to start a fire in the house. But if you have a fire, what you really want afterward is a sprinkler system. This is not a perfect fix to global warming. It's not a substitute for environmentalism. What it is, however, is a solution to global warming if the problem needs to be fixed fast, cheaply, and reversibly.
A possible, perhaps dubious solution, but something to think about. And just by saying that, you've taken unusual heat.
Yeah, I can't say we're surprised. I mean, in the book, we actually said pretty much what you said in the intro to this piece, that in a lot of ways, the effort to stop global warming has taken on the feel of a religion. And maybe religion is understating or overstating it. It's really the movement of taking on the feel of fundamentalism. And what I mean by that is when you're a fundamentalist, you cannot or will not brook ideas that even begin to challenge your kind of orthodoxy. So yeah, there are certain hardcore environmentalists on whose hate lists we are now and will forever be, I'm afraid.
Paul Krugman, you are unforgivably wrong.
Yeah.
Brad DeLong, you should abjectly apologize.
Yeah.
Abjectly.
I'll apologize for other things, not for this, though, because we're right about this. I mean, I think what we're right about, having listened to Jerry earlier, I think the problem is once a topic like this becomes politicized, which it has been, obviously, you hear rhetoric on both sides that is kind of absent of rationality and absent of nuance. And we try to bring some rationality to the topic. Look, here's what I believe in. I believe in rational environmentalism. And I think that everybody here and all of us would too. Is it a good idea to pollute less, to preserve the environment better, to create cheap and cleaner and better energy for more people in the world so that more people can prosper and live more responsible, more productive lives? Yes. Does that go against this kind of church of global warming as you've described it? Unfortunately, yes, it does.
And just to be clear, when we talk about polluting less, I think of sulfur dioxide and soot. But carbon dioxide, the greenhouse gas they're talking about, has been labeled a pollutant, but it doesn't hurt you if you inhale it.
It is interesting. I have two kids. They're 9 and 7. They come home from school, a school I like a lot, so if you're out there, don't kick us out. And my kids are learning in school that carbon dioxide is a poison. It's a poison. Now, When I was a kid, we learned that carbon dioxide was the lifeblood of the planet, and that without it, plants would not grow and we would die. So, like I said, the rhetoric gets a little bit overheated, and I have to take my kids aside.
Let's take some overheated rhetoric, I hope, from our audience. That's up next. Also, let's assume global warming is a serious problem, and we humans are making it worse. What should we do?